So I've been having a great time busting out the Atari 2600 and revisiting some of my old favorite games and exploring some new games that I never even played before. So we went back and we looked at Pitfall 2 again, which I remember loving so much, but I only borrowed the cartridge for a limited time, so we got to check it out and go through the game. I also purchased Hero, which was one of the later Activision games, as well as just playing some good old classics. But one thing I stumbled upon that I'm just having a blast with is all the Atari Homebrews. These are new games that they are still making for the Atari 2600 today. So essentially, the Atari 2600 is alive and better than ever. And to be honest, these games are better than the original games on average. If you don't have an Atari 2600 console, that's okay, because there are other devices such as the Retron 77, which is basically an Atari 2600 clone. You can download files and put on there and play, or it has a cartridge slot that you can use to plug in old games and have a good time. There's a lot of retro stores around. You can find Atari 2600 cartridges fairly easy because they were so popular. Everybody had one, everybody bought cartridges, so there's a lot in circulation. And when you do find them, you'd be surprised they're usually not that expensive unless it was a well sought after game or a rare game or something in like pristine condition. If you don't have a Retron 77 or a console, you can still download all the old Atari 2600 classic games and play them today on your Mac or PC. And those are also on the channel if you want to look those up. I'll link to the PC one here. And if you want the Mac, you can just go to the channel. It's right next to the PC one. So going back to the Homebrews, I just want to point out that the games are incredible. I'm stuck on these Homebrews. I have more advanced consoles. I have so many other forms of entertainment, and I can't get off the Atari 2600 right now because the games I am finding are so good. You might say, like, what about the graphics? The graphics are bad. Well, they're relatively, yes, they are. They're not 3D rendered. They didn't have a team of 120 animators putting this together. Yes, but relative to the Atari 2600, they're pretty good graphics. And I think we are forgetting part of the charm of the Atari 2600 games was that the graphics left a little bit to the imagination. So when you played Adventure and you were a dot with a sword, you saw more than that in your mind. And this is like reading a book versus going to see the movie. People always like the book better because it gives you so much more to think about, and you create a world inside your head, what the characters look like, what the surroundings look like. When you go and watch the movie of a book you read, you think, well, that's not how I pictured it at all. There's something to be said about leaving a little bit to the imagination. Relative bad graphics, that's okay, because you're going to play the game. If it's a good game, you're going to get lost in it and your imagination's going to take over. So not only for the Atari 2600, there's also Homebrews for the 5200 and the 7800, and you can find all those on AtariAge.com. Also in the forums, most of the developers will put the bin files or the ROM files out for people to download and to test out, and they ask people to try it out, give them feedback, and you can still download those today. But you know what, it's such a great community. I'm purchasing the physical cartridge as well because I really want to support this community, and there's something to be said about still having that tactile experience of taking a physical cartridge, plugging it into the system, flipping the on switch, and playing with your classic controller. I like that experience. It's like, I still like the experience of taking a record, pulling it out of the sleeve, going through the routine of putting it on a record player and listening to that whole story rather than hitting shuffle on Spotify. So there's really two types of homebrews. There's games that people have developed from scratch, whole new ideas, whole new concepts. And then there's hacks. So somebody might take an old classic, say Demon Attack, and modify it, enhance it, and give it a whole new look and feel, therefore giving the game a whole new breath of life. Such as one of the games we're going to explore here is Invader X. So this is a hack of Demon Attack. So what they did is taken an old classic game that everybody loved, modified it, changed it a little bit, made it a little bit more difficult, changed some colors, changed some graphics, changed some sounds. So it's like a whole new Demon Attack. There's a few in here that are games based on my very favorite Atari 2600 game, Adventure. So you might see like Epic Adventure, also Evil Magician Returns 2. If you were an adventure fan for the Atari 2600, those are two musts. Epic Adventure is like Adventure reimagined, and Evil Magician Returns 2 is like a sequel to Adventure. Both fantastic games. One I haven't played yet, but I'm about to, is, and I'm very intrigued by this, is this Tire Tracks game. If you bought Atari 2600 games back in the day, in the early 80s, you will recognize this packaging. It looks just like an Activision game. Down to the rainbow, down to the logo, down to the font, the placement of everything. If I saw this in a store, I'd go, Activision game for sure. I'm very intrigued by playing this because we all know that Activision was kind of the premier developer for the Atari 2600. They made the best games, they had the best graphics, so I'm excited to break that one out and give it a shot. And then we also have some takes on new modern games. So Halo, relatively modern, came out with the original Xbox, but somebody said, hey, you know what, I'm gonna make a 2600 version of this game. So we have Halo 2600 we're gonna jump into, and all these I have been playing, giving them a review on my channel. So if you wanna see the gameplay and a review of all of these, they're gonna be on my channel, so be sure to check those out. I don't have much else to say other than rambling, so I'll just ask, if you like this video, please subscribe and hit that bell, because that's gonna help me develop this channel. If you like the videos, I'll keep producing them, and I'll just say I very much appreciate it. Support your homebrew community, and thanks a lot.